Rita, thanks for joining us on Blue Notes.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about learning. As you know, the world is rapidly changing and keeping employees equipped to face new and developing challenges is more important than ever before. So how do companies need to think about learning in the 21st century?
Great question. So I think we all recognise that the world is changing and it's changing really fast. And the majority of organisations, regardless of the industry that they're in, are all facing disruption. Obviously, technology is an absolutely key driver for change, but there are other pressures as well. There's social pressures, economic and environmental, and obviously regulatory pressures are also placing demands on organisations, which are in turn changing the way customers and communities interact with companies and the expectations that they have of them. So companies really need to be thinking differently about how they respond to these pressures, how they compete, and ultimately how they survive. So all of this is impacting the future of work. So if companies need to change and adapt, well, clearly the people that work in these organisations also need to adapt and change and learn new skills and keep relevant. So learning is critical to that sort of type of transformation and is a must-do for all organisations. Research suggests that the average shelf life today of a skill is about 5 years, and that's rapidly decreasing to 3 as this constant change and evolution and adaptation is occurring. So people really need to think about how they can keep abreast of these changes, how they can learn new skills constantly, which is about continuing to learn technical skills, but also broadening skills around digital, for example, is obviously a really important capability that everyone needs to tap into, but also some of the softer skills around being agile, being adaptive, managing change, collaborating and complex problem solving are all really important skills for people to demonstrate. But the how is also really important. It's not just the type of skill, but the how is really important. So learning to learn, being learning oriented, we're increasingly seeing that the act of learning in and of itself is a core skill. So what this means is that learning to learn is about really being curious and demonstrating growth mindset. It's about challenging oneself and pushing oneself outside one's comfort zone. And it's about constant testing and iteration. And then probably the third piece is the environment in which learning needs to happen in. This is probably the critical piece because all companies are thinking about how to leverage learning in a competitive landscape. The ones who are progressing and the ones who are winning are thinking about how to incorporate learning into the culture of the organisation, into the fabric of the business and into their DNA, where everyone is just learning every day and that work and learning are in fact intertwined. So we're seeing a shift away from the function of learning and development to a culture of learning and development.
We're seeing the rise of emerging technologies like AI, machine learning and automation, which are placing those traditional jobs at risk. So how important is it for employees to be effectively trained and keep up to date with that in this ever-changing environment?
Well, it's really, really critical. There's no kind of keeping back from this. I think the research suggests that by 2030, 800 million jobs globally will be impacted through technology. But on the flip side, the research also suggests that by 2030, 80% of jobs that exist don't actually exist today. So whether you believe the research or not, or the magnitude of the change, the point is that the world is changing and no one is immune from it. Everyone needs to be thinking about how they can learn new skills and constantly learn and grow and equip themselves to really have the skills that are required for today but also for tomorrow. And then I think organisations and industries and society at large has a responsibility really to ensure that their people are equipped to be learning new skills. They're providing different opportunities for them to access different types of learning. And as I mentioned before, that ultimately they're creating a culture around learning because these are the organisations that will win and in turn obviously offer something back to employees.